Hi there, it's Rachel Martin, and you're listening to Parenting Teens Podcasts. So welcome to another episode of Parenting Teens. So onto the subject, risky behaviour. You know, when your teen starts to spiral and they seem to just be pushing you further and further out of their life. It can feel as a parent literally petrifying. I mean, it's almost paralysing as it goes on. But step one that you need to accept is that risk-taking and learning about consequences is a part of the teen course of life. But how risky is every individual? Well, it's all very much influenced around their mates, their past, their moral boundaries, and sometimes it's even what's on trend right now. And this has been going on for years. Seriously, back in 1925, flagpole sitting became a trend for teens. I kid you not. It was about how long you could sit on top of a flagpole, and the record sits at 49 days. Can you imagine your teenage boy telling you that that's what they were going out to do? Well, let's be honest, somewhere in life there is a mum who experienced exactly that. By 1939, goldfish swallowing with a record of 101 took off. And then in 1944 was when we first see girls starting to wear men's clothing. Today this isn't such a shocking thing, but can you imagine the curtains twitching if your teen did this first back in the 1940s? In 1952 there was a craze for panty raids in university, and yes, that is exactly what you're thinking it is. And if we look at the 60s, the summer of love and hippies, I'm not even sure I need to outline the risks that were taken in this time. And so the list goes on. Teens have always taken risks. They look to push the boundaries. But it's not just to try and shove your sanity over the edge. Part of the logic behind this risk-taking and drawing away from their parents lays in the awareness of morality. No, really. As your kid hits teenage years, their brain begins to process an understanding of the fact that they aren't going to be here forever. And actually, neither are you. This creates a need to find stability and security for themselves. You're not here forever, so what do they do when you're not around? Well, they need someone else. And logic says someone closer to their age will maximise their chance of not being alone. So yeah, you're gonna go first, and they need to be okay when this happens. And maybe it's a touch premature to prepare for this right now, but when you first learn something, the idea of just accepting it and moving on isn't really our first instinct. This helps explain exactly why their peers, friendships and partnerships are categorically one of the most important things to a teen. Honestly, no question, you need to grasp the fact that their friendships, their peers and their relationships are literally the most important thing. And how does this help you? Well, hopefully it'll help you to see that this isn't defiance. They're not doing it because they hate you. It's a coping mechanism for being mortal, for being a human, to stop them from being left alone. So why do teens choose risky behaviour? Well, this lays in the realms of your teen's currency. I've mentioned this previously before in a podcast if you want more info on that. But the reward for the risk is what influences the decision. And that's okay, right? That's kind of what we do as adults. If the reward we get is substantial enough to outweigh the risk, then we'll do it. The problem for teenagers is this itself is risky when your reward is trying to influence what people think of you. I want you to remember being a teen, like 14, 15, you're at school, you're still living at home, a couple of years until you're going to be away from that. Can you remember what was important? What it was like to live those years? What rocked your world? What really mattered? If you really think about it, it was if you were accepted. And who were you looking for acceptance from? Well, the people around you, your friends. Think about your memories and think about who they include. I'd wager they involved you and your mates doing something where you laughed, or maybe something a little crazy. There probably isn't as many memories of you doing things where it was just you on your own. Because at the end of the day, everyone wants to be wanted. And when you're a teenager, you want to be wanted by everyone. But mainly by people who aren't your parents, of people who are going to be around you for long enough to support you. The human species, in all honesty, a little bit odd. We seek approval a lot, but not to survive like other species do for food or to reproduce. We do it because we feel it proves that we're a good person. It says something about who we are. It makes us feel a purpose, like we'll be missed if we were to go. And it gives us self-worth, and it makes us feel needed. And let's be honest, we all feel a bit nicer if we're liked by the people around us. However, for teens, in these such early days of feeling this niceness of people around us, this can lead them to chase it more and more as a reward. And this can lead them to make bad choices to get that feeling. Sometimes the choices they make probably don't even always feel comfortable, but the overriding thought of, my mates are going to think I'm cool if I do this. I'll fit in with everyone a bit better because I know it's something that they've all done. These kind of thoughts overpower their self-concern. Now, I honestly reckon they know there's a risk, and they probably know that you're not going to like their decision. But in the teen unconnected brain, it's not easy to dismiss that result. They want that feeling. They know you're not always going to be there, and they're going to need their own people to remain happy. So the allegiance to their people, their friends, or their relationships is more important. So let's be honest, you want to know what you can do. Well, first, I'm back to the old and golden boundaries. As I said, all teens are different and will push this risk-taking to different levels. But if you're in any doubt that the risk they're taking is too high, your first job is to keep them safe. Do what you have to do and lay down those boundaries to make sure they are safe. Now, we all know they're not going to like this, but I can't stress enough, it is really important. So let's use an example and say your teen likes to sneak out. It's not acceptable, so what are your options? Well, you could put bars on the window, you could ground them, you could take their phone, give them a good talking to. All of these may work for your teen, although I got to say there is a fire safety risk with the bars on the windows thing, but the important factor is you do what's right for your teen and you consider how you do this. So a couple of tips from me. Firstly, I want you to understand why they're doing it. Understanding this will help you later if you need to negotiate. It will help you understand what the reward is that they're chasing. And as always, I'm going to say it again, this part of the conversation is for your ears, not your mouth. Keep your views and opinions out of this bit for now. Then when it comes to your response, keep your message clear. Don't faff about with your words, drag up a million examples. Something like sneaking out isn't acceptable. It's dangerous and it has high risks that I'm just not comfortable with you taking. Offer them the chance to help you change your perspective. Here's my worries, and if you can help me see that these are irrational, I'm so open to that. Let's try. Whatever the outcome, remember, you're trying to find a way for them to get the reward they want, but without busting boundaries and doing things that are genuinely dangerous. One way you can do this is with compromise. Can you meet them halfway? I don't want you to be out super late, and especially if I don't know where you are. So maybe we could arrange a sleepover and you guys can stay up as late as you want. I don't know, maybe your teenager's a bit old for sleepovers now. So maybe you could extend the time until they have to come in, as long as you know they're at someone's house. You can put a tracker on their phone so at least you know where they are and agree a time frame for them to come in that you're both happy with. Ask to meet these people or meet their parents. It can make you feel more comfortable about who they are. But remember, you need to show your compromise too. And if you don't give anything at all, then they are just going to bust their asses to try and find ways to continue with what they're doing. Because you're not giving anything, so neither will they. With all these discussions, you need to either balance out their wanted reward with a new one, or you need to help them find a way to get the reward with less risk. With all these discussions, you need to either balance out their wanted reward with a new one, and let me just say, you not shouting at them isn't a reward, but you also need to think of some kind of agreed consequence should they break this. But you also need to agree some kind of consequence should they break this boundary. I can't emphasize agree this consequence. It's important that they agree to it, because then should the worst case happen, you have a leg to stand on when it comes to asking them to stop again. If you're going to bring in the consequence, it's easier if they already know it's coming and they agree that it's fair for what's happened. So I can hear you all saying it. This sounds great, Rach. I've tried this, I've done this, and they're still breaking the boundaries. So at this point, if you've done the steps before, you're actually in a new discussion point, because now you can refer back and say things like, you agreed to me you'd do this, and I gave you my trust. We decided together, and yet you've still decided that this reward is more important. So now the consequence we agreed has to kick in. Hopefully this conversation is less aggressive and easier to have because of the conversations you've had before. I want you to try to get to the point where you can understand what it is they want from this reward. Is it acceptance? Is it to feel a part of a group? Is it to feel loved and appreciated or wanted? When you find out what this is, there might be a really easy fix, or there might just be a couple of things you can do that can make it easier for your teen to see a different way. So now it's your job to help them to see the danger to the reward that they're hunting. If they want approval from a bunch of mates who aren't helping and aren't giving them the best steps, it's good to try and help them to work out for themselves the dangers that these people pose, the activities that they're taking part in, where that can lead, what could happen. You need to find out if your teen is really comfortable with their behaviour right now, or is there even a tiny small red flag that comes up when they do it? Do they really feel that these people are their people? And do they really feel that they want to take these risks to be accepted? This is all great stuff for you to explore with them. It's explore, though. Just talk about. You might think that you know the right decision in this point, but you're not there to convince them that they're wrong and you're right. You're there to help them see that there is a choice and there is a balance. Now, I'm afraid to say, if they do feel super connected and they aren't budging with the options you've given them, this does leave you with limited options. You aren't going to convince them that these people aren't good. And it's not just your teen's brain that you have to convince, but it's the words that they hear from these people too that you're battling with. So here's some things to try. Try widening their social network. Anyhow, any way that you can, get them with more people. This may just open their eyes to what friends and partnerships can be. Keep them being open with you. If you can't stop the behaviour, the next best thing is to be the first person they come to if they want out or if something happens. If they think for 1 second you're going to say, "I told you so," or you're going to spaz out, they aren't going to tell you. This isn't the best place to be. Be honest, sometimes you are too focused on the, "but what if this happens?" instead of actually looking at the real likelihood of that event happening. Remember, you aren't their protector anymore. You're their trainer. And if you can allow them to make this stupid choice and learn from it, then fantastic. But what you can do is make sure that that choice is executed in a safer way. Teach them how to be safe. Teach them how to say no. Go through that worst case scenario that you're worrying about, because should it happen, what should your teen do next? What are the red flags that they should be looking for? This is your opportunity to equip your team with the tools they need to reduce the risk in the first place. Another thing you can do is encourage healthy, risky behaviour. Sounds a bit odd, I know, but there's a lot of things that they can do that carry the chance of failure. Anything they can do that they might not simply win at or excel at gives a chance for them to feel at risk. Now, for your teen, this could be anything from sports to artwork, creativity, anything. But if you can't think of anything at all, do you know what? Do something risky with them. Go out and do an event that gets both of your adrenalines pumping another way. Whatever you do, your team will make choices based on what their brain tells them. Their brain is always developing, so I assure you the logic will drop in. And I know that's not the most helpful advice you can hear right now, as I'm sure you may be very scared for them. But this isn't how it will always be. Try and find a way to reach your teen, and failing that, do everything that you can to keep the risks as low a level as possible. The older they get, the less control you have. So the more you can teach them now about how to reduce that risk, the better it will be for them later. As long as they're aware of why this worries you, they know the red flags and will recognise them should they come up. They know what to do if it goes wrong, and they're happy to come to you if needed. Then that's the backbone of the best of a bad situation. I wish you good luck with this one, because it's not fun, but there are things that you can try, so don't give up. But just remember, not everyone who takes risks ruins their lives. I hope this podcast has helped and you've enjoyed listening to it, and it's given you some ideas to run with. Thanks for taking your time to listen. I hope you've enjoyed listening, and I hope you found it helpful. If you'd like to hear more episodes, please make sure you click subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. If you've got any feedback or any subjects you think you'd like me to talk about in the future, please honestly get in touch. I'm Inner Strength on Facebook, Parenting a Teen on Instagram, and My Inner Strength is my website. Thanks ever so much. Bye.